Welcome in. I hear it. I'm just trying to pause for effect.
We're live.
We are live. And Roy Ogletree is back with us.
Yeah.
I had to do 2 days with Garrett last week. Yeah, no. Actually.
Oh, man.
No. So we missed you, but you were in Spain.
I was.
You went to Barcelona. You went to Madrid. Mm-hmm. Did you go to Bilbao?
No, it would be like flying into Texas because they're
Seville? Did you go to Seville?
Yeah,
Sevilla?
Sevilla. I still don't know which one to call it, but I guess the locals call it Sevilla, but I'm not going to call it Barcelona. I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. But we went to the three kind of main cities that you would see on any tour, but it'd be basically like flying into Texas and being like, I'm going to go to Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we did. But no, it was great, and I'm exhausted, which is exactly what you want to be coming off of a vacation.
Yeah. No. I get it. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that you're here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Talk about things that matter, like college football.
Yes, Royden. Things that matter. Mm-hmm. You know, while you were gone, did I see any movies that we could talk about before? So I just like to irritate the people who are like, Paul, talk about sports.
Yeah, no.
I enjoy that part of it.
We don't have to do that at all today if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do like irritating it. And here's the great news. As of right now, we are streaming live on 2 channels. We are on 365 Sports, and we are on the brand new The Triple Option with Paul Catalina channel.
Look at that.
There we go. So
go subscribe to that.
Yeah, so please go subscribe to that. And eventually that's where we will be doing the show, and that's where all the clips and things will live anyway. So every clip from this show will live on the Triple Option page. We'll still simulcast live for a while because what does it matter? You know, but that way people can see it. But this is an attempt to get a new audience. We've had this channel that's, has 12,000 subscribers to it. It was originally CFB with JD, the great JD Piquel, when he was here. And, we made him into a superstar. I mean, I don't think Jack would agree with me that Jack and I played a huge part in making JD a superstar.
Are you getting any revenue off those Prize Pick ads that I get inundated with on my Twitter feed?
With JD in them?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No.
But what is it good for?
Well, here's the deal. One day, and that day may never come, he's going to have to do a favor for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the Italian thing. Like, no. But we're very proud of JD and what he's been able to do.
You're going to owe me something one day.
Yeah. But
a little back end.
He was here. Then he got this great job at On3, and he ascended the ranks of the college football good-looking,
elites.
Analysts.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Josh Pate, him, me, we're all the same.
Similar.
It's all the same.
Very similar.
Yeah. I mean, there's not, if you look at JD and me, mm-hmm. and we used to do a show together, if you look at JD Piquel and me, you're going to be like, those guys are definitely twins. Mm-hmm. Seriously.
Like in the Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger sense? Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That kind of a thing. Separated at birth, 18 years apart. Yes. So
you're doing yourself a little favor with it. You're 20,
18. I don't know, 20, maybe 20. No, that would make him 24. He's older than 24. So I'm gonna give it 15 years.
Okay, good.
15.
Yeah.
16, maybe 12.
Your interns just keep getting younger and younger, Paul.
Yeah. I keep making him older and me the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. So we are on that channel, so please go subscribe to it. We're super excited about it. We haven't been able to put daily content on it. Well, guess what? For a year now, we've been doing daily content on this. So we're like, you know what? We have enough stuff. Let's do it. Let's move it over. Let's do that. So here we are.
Has it only been a year? I feel like we've been doing the show forever.
No, it's just been a year.
Oh.
It's been a year. It's been exactly.
We've always been doing this show.
It's been exactly a year longer than the other triple option that has been done by Fox and Urban Meyer and Mark Ingram and Rob Stone, which I will take them down if it's the last thing I ever do.
Oh, yeah.
Or the other triple option, of which we don't even need to mention because still more than them. Mm-hmm. So I am out ahead of it.
You own it.
Yes, I do. I mean, I have first to the finish line. Now, here's the deal. in radio, things like that, like there are tons of zones and, morning drive and all these different things. There's not a lot of differences in the names, right? Occasionally you'll get like sports talk mornings with Bubba and the Gunball, or whatever, because they gave each other nicknames.
This is your drive time radio with Fart Master and Poop. And you're
exactly. So you'll have those things. And again, nobody's going to go like, well, I really wanted to be Fart Master and Poop. Like that's not, they're like, that's good for Fart Master and Poop. I'm glad that they did that, what was the, oh, okay. Never mind. Other one. You and I can work this out. Maybe we join up together. Maybe we do this
handshake agreement.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, like usually it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like these things are in the air, right? That's how it is. There's a limited amount of sports terms. You can't just keep coming. But when I looked up, and there's this, by the way, a pro football podcast. So when I Googled this, I Googled triple option college football podcast. Nothing. There was nothing, because we came up with a list of names, and, a couple of them, right away on the Google were just gone. Like there was already one. And even though one of them was a name that I liked, the podcast wasn't very big, but I was like, well, I don't want to do that to them. Like if this is actually successful and then like, I'm this guy who took away their thing. Well, I don't want to be that guy. Well, Urban Meyer's that guy.
You will gladly do that for Urban Meyer.
So no, I'm.
By the way, when we were thinking up names for the super successful and not at all maligned podcast that we do for movies, One Take, we didn't think that anything with the name Take in it would just get aggregated to anything First Take. So like when you look up our name, it just is immediately just First Take.
Yeah.
Like anything that Stephen A does, it's just like, where can we find you? You think you can't?
Yeah.
Because we didn't do that SEO right.
Yeah. So
SEO.
SEO. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. That's how it is. But I'm excited that we have our own space and all of this. Nothing really changes other than the fact that now to search for this content, it's easy. You don't have to sift through the other things that we do, which there's a lot of stuff on the main channel. There's just a lot. We've been at it for over 4.5 years now, and there's a lot of stuff there. So
this is your slow separation from this company, if you just want to admit that.
I mean, this company still owns this podcast. So yeah, I mean, no, it's not like no, but it's good. I have long-term plans for this that are hopefully really big. It just involves the company growing to a place that I can say, hey, can you guys give me money for this? And like, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to they're like, hey, can you guys give me money for this? And they're like, what money?
No.
I mean, we'd love to. Like, here's the thing. I used to work for an owner who would be like, hey, we need money for this. We need to fix this broken thing in the studio. And he'd be like, no. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to tie some wires together, and then you guys will have to press 7 buttons in this exact sequence to get this to work.
Right.
And then if you don't do that, it's not going to work, and Smokey's going to flip out and go, how do you not know how to do this? And then you show him that you have to push 7 buttons in sequence because there's wires tied together instead of it getting repaired. And then he goes down the hall and goes, why would you do that to these poor bastards? And then we're all just like, please kill me.
Yeah, it was a lot like Oppenheimer, y'all's operation.
Yeah. So, he would freak out. And justifiably so, sometimes we're like, we do this every day. Yeah, but, I have to hit this one, and I got to hang up this phone. Well, this has nothing to do with it. Also, for some reason, this is routing through Taiwan. No idea why.
You have to drink water and sing at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it was. And then 7 months after that argument they would have, then an engineer guy would come in and go, who the hell did this? And we would be like, well, I think I know. I mean, he won't admit it, but this, he's like, well, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You're like, yeah, no, we're not engineers and we thought that. So, but now I have a company that is like, look, we would love to, but we have to plan these out things long in advance, which they've supported us no matter what. So it just takes a little bit longer. I would I'd like to be the money guy who gets immediately hey, how about this? Kind of like Pat McAfee can just pretty much, he'd be like, hey, we're going to go to this place and do the show, and I'm going to get really drunk on the air, and the last hour of the show is going to be nonsensical. And they're like, great.
Fine.
They'll love it.
Yeah.
They'll love it. We'll sell T-shirts of you like drooling on a microphone and make up the money for it in a second.
With a scroller that says, "This is a comedy show. Don't take us seriously."
Yeah. Good plan. I'm Don. Like, so those kind of things. But super excited. So, Roy, I sent you a couple of topics today. And I will give you, since you're fresh off vacation and you maybe have vacation brain.
Yeah, and I absolutely was watching college football while we were.
In Spain. It's very big in Spain. Mm-hmm. Like they're very jealous that Ireland is the only European nation that gets a college football game.
A lot of people on the street were asking me, "Is like, what do you think about the Kansas State Wildcats?"
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm sure they're saying we would love to see the Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. We'd love to see them here, Mississippi State. And also, we'd like to see the Georgia Bulldogs from Athens, Georgia.
I'm not going to besmirch anybody that I ran into, but I thought that thing was a bit that
it's not.
Not a bit.
Yeah,
it is a real accent, and I was just kind of. I always thought it was a bit that people that studied abroad in Europe came back and were like, when I was in Barcelona and I did and I was like, okay, you're doing I get it, but no, you go there and everybody they speak.
We would like to see the Vandenberg Commodores and the Pavia, the El Ringon. As my favorite podcaster, the Paul Catalina. That's what he calls him.
A lot of people were like, what do you think about Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning? Like, we really want to know what your thoughts are on that. Yeah.
We like the Peyton. We don't like the Eli. So,
really good bits that we're doing on this show.
I'm doing a really narrow Spanish character.
Oh, yeah.
I know that I am. They are, I've always wanted to go there. You were just there. It's an insanely beautiful country.
There were things that genuinely, and I don't say this very often, and architecture isn't my strong suit, but there are things in like some of those. First of all, you'd walk into any building and it's older than the country that we're living in right now. But this is from 1560. But there were things in like the architecture in there that I was looking at and it literally took my breath away. And I was like, oh, this isn't from this earth. Actually, I'm not sure how you built this. And so in the chat, tell me if you've been to Spain and you enjoy it. But it is one of those things where if you haven't been, you should really check it out. They know how to build churches over there. I'll say that.
I don't know. That's one of those places where I don't know how they you watch Egypt and the pyramids, like that, churches in Spain, all those things, Rome, the Stonehenge, and you're like, how did you do this without the stuff that we have now? That's what
it's unbelievable. And I will get off this here in a second, but the Sagrada Familia, which is the most visited thing in Spain, in Barcelona, they started building it relatively late. It started being built in the 1880s, and that was one of the things that took my breath away. But then you go down the street and you walk into a chapel, and genuinely they were like, we started building this in the 1600s, and you go, how did you possibly lift this stone? And I think a lot of it has to do with human suffering, but it's just these massive things built that show you what humans can really do, and it was unbelievable. But yeah, I'd go back. I'd say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, you drink wine with every meal, so that was fun.
Like breakfast.
I swear to God, we asked a guy, and he's like, I was like, what do you normally do for breakfast? He's like, oh, we wake up at 7:30 and we have a pastry and then a breakfast wine. I was like, what? It's commonplace. It's whatever.
Yeah. Good deal. Well, now we know why Spain has never since the 1500s hasn't conquered the world.
No, they're just vibing, dude.
They spent too much time celebrating after that. We did it.
Yeah.
Wine and breakfast.
We're done. Yeah, it's fine.
Hey, do we have Cuba anymore? No.
What about
when
Florida?
When did that happen?
We forgot.
When did that happen? Oh, in 1898? Oh, crap.
Man.
Where were we?
Napping.
Yeah, that's it.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay, so which topic? I gave you Baylor's record at the end of the year, coaches who are going to be fired or at new jobs, good or bad. Good or bad, new jobs or not there, and who should A&M's quarterback be going forward?
I think we can start with A&M because I think it was the big story over the weekend, that win over LSU.
Do you think this is something, by the way, giving the co-host the option of topics in order that we should start doing now in this new era of our own channel.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's a courtesy.
Yeah, because mostly just inside baseball. One, I just wasn't here to like research a lot of this stuff, and then two, Paul will send this to me. Today was a little bit earlier, but sometimes it's like at 11:30.
Yeah,
it's just like, what do you think?
Yeah,
oh, I'll figure it out. But I did look up, and looked at a lot of the Marcell Reed highlights and watched some of that game, and I think that your point stands. They just can't go back to Weigman. Not for anything that he's done necessarily wrong. Yeah, I don't think he's played up to the 5-star caliber that everybody thought he would. He just can't stay healthy.
Well, and the other thing is, the other night had nothing to do with his health. It's just he did not provide what they needed to beat LSU.
Yeah.
And Marcell Reed absolutely did.
Yeah, he only threw 2 passes, but it didn't really matter. That threat of pulling the ball and the option keepers in the red zone obviously threw LSU for a loop. And look, LSU's defense isn't the LSU's defense of the past, and they haven't been for a couple of seasons.
But they were, sadly for them, and Garrett knows this, they were getting better. They like from the first game to now, they have been getting better or masking their deficiencies a lot better, which means you're getting better. But they still have one really bad glaring weakness that I don't think is something you can fix in a year, which is they can't handle running quarterbacks.
No, and I mean, a couple of those times it's like he just pulls the ball and gets to the outside, and they don't have any outside contain, and he waltzes in the end zone. And then there's one where he pulls the ball way last second and then walks right up the middle for one of those touchdowns. And I think that threat, was too much for them to handle. And Weigman.
Yeah.
Connor Weigman took 4 sacks in that game as well too. Mm-hmm. So it's something that, he's been sacked 7 times on the year, and, Reed been sacked 4 times. 3 of those were in the Arkansas game, but I think he's been not good handling the pressure Weigman has this year. And 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and I can name stats for you all day, but Reed hasn't turned the ball over. And that running threat, whether it will equate to long-term success or not, is just another option that you don't have with Weigman. Weigman only had like 98 rushing yards on the year so far. So I don't think Weigman's done by any stretch of the imagination. Now, whether that Marcell Reed's like, isn't he a true freshman? I don't think he's done, whether that means he goes somewhere else or not. But after watching some of that LSU game, there's just no way that you can look at your team and be like, hey, this guy that's like got us through all these tough games and got us to the point where we are and helped us come back against LSU and get one of the signature wins that we've had in a long time, and has now set us up to be really challenged for the SEC. And we're going to not go with that guy.
Yeah.
We're going to go with the other guy who's visibly been struggling all year. 1, to stay healthy, but 2, to like hang on to the ball and complete passes downfield at a rate that you need him to without his legs, if it's gonna go anywhere. So
I think if you put Connor Weigman in an offense that had wide receivers like Ohio State's or Ole Miss or whatever, like he would throw for 4,000 yards. Like he's got that kind of talent. But see, that's the other thing. It's weird is that A&M is very good and they're as good as they've been in a long time. But their wide receivers, they've got 4 guys. Would you say 4 guys who are a number 2 receiver, Garrett?
At least 3. I would say at least 3.
Yeah, at least 3 guys that are number 2 receivers. They don't have a true number 1 receiver, and they don't have a guy who's an established burner yet. Although next year I have a feeling that will be Terry Bussey. He's just a freshman and has to learn that. But because Garrett was at the game, I know you know this, but Garrett was at the game.
I'm sorry.
The other night,
it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun regardless.
Yeah, and so, but. It's interesting because they did used to have a couple guys who were alpha dog receivers And I don't think Evan Stewart is regretting his choice. He's having a good year at Oregon. So he's not regretting his choice, but they don't have that dude.
Mike Evans isn't walking through that door.
No, I mean, and the other thing for Evan Stewart is he has him and Tez Johnson among the other offensive weapons they have, but that's two alphas right there in the room. That's where A&M doesn't have that. You know what their wide receiver core reminds me of is that first Vegas Knights team. That was the most brilliant expansion draft ever, where they're like, we're going to draft one star, and then the rest of everybody is going to be the guys who are on the second line of every team.
Yep.
So we have all of our lines are the same, and everybody else, they have a fourth line. Well, we do too, but it's really a second line, and we're going to beat people because our guys are better than theirs.
Well, if you wanted to look at what Mike Elko wants to do, obviously is ball control. It all comes down in that defense is, of course, for under him was always going to be better, I think, because that's his bread and butter. But if you wanted to look at why he had success at Duke when Riley Leonard was up and moving, it was the option keepers running the ball control, time management, and then we just need enough stops to really put this thing to bed. Yeah. And Reed just gives that to you. Mm-hmm. I don't really have much more to expound upon, but I think under this new regime, you're gonna see a lot more smash mouth, hard nosed, downhill running game, and then Reed gives you that option to break a play and bounce it outside, and I just always love the option threat, even when in the red zone, even when quarterbacks, I always relate things back to Baylor, but what was it? Bryce Petty had 10 or 12 rushing touchdowns one year because they would just run him in the red zone on option keepers. Mm-hmm. And that just provides another threat that the defense has to account for, especially when you're good at it. And I go back to that play. I go back to that play where he held onto the ball. I mean, truly, the running back nearly took it out of his hands, and he runs right up the middle. But the gap, and when the flow was going one, all of the players, go back and watch the play. I think there was 9 players on one side and maybe 2 cornerbacks and a safety, and the hole opened up the Red Sea parted, and he just walked into the end zone. I think it provides a whole nother layer that Wegman just can't do for you.
Yeah, no, I love I love the way Marcell Reed plays. I love his fire, and they don't have to have him pass just yet, but he's pretty good at that. And
yeah, he's got a good arm. I'm not saying he doesn't.
I remember thinking he was Mr. Tennessee football. He's from Nashville. It was funny. Last Christmas, I was I'm visiting my in-laws. And I can't remember what they were doing downstairs. They were watching something, and then I was like, "Well, I'm going to go upstairs. I want to watch this A&M game." And so they're like, "Oh yeah," it was not I'm being mad, but I go up there, and immediately Marcell Reed gets thrown into the game. The second play of the game, he's in. Jalen Henderson breaks his arm, and he's in the game. He spent this whole time thinking well, maybe if I get a shot, I might be able to play late in this game, and the world will get to see what I got. That's what he thought, and he had to play the whole game. First quarter, I wouldn't call it an unmitigated disaster, but it looked very much like a guy who's me. What right now?
You're serious?
He did what now? You mean his whole arm? I mean, okay,
amputate.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then by the end, you start watching him, by the end of the game, once he starts playing, you're like, this guy's an athlete. Mm-hmm. And so if he gets any kind of rapport with any of these guys, and he already had one, Jadae Walker had a great game in that bowl game at Oklahoma State, and I was thinking, well, this is going to be interesting. Down the line, my thought was, how long can they keep this kid? Because Connor Wegman's coming back. He's a 5-star prospect. Let's be real here. He's going to have to wait. Well, Connor Wegman gets hurt early. Marcell Reed's been fantastic. And now, and this is something that if you're not familiar with the history of A&M quarterbacks, that happens to them more than anybody ever. They have 2 guys that everybody likes. And, it shifts, right? It goes back okay, we like this guy more and this guy more. But there is nothing more crazy than an A&M quarterback controversy. And it goes back years and years and years.
You don't even have to go back that far. Ryan Tannehill was a great wide receiver because he couldn't play quarterback.
Well, no, they flipped it. So Gerard Johnson was the quarterback.
Yeah.
And Ryan Tannehill was a wide receiver because they wanted him on the field.
Yeah.
Then Gerard Johnson got hurt, and when he came back, he wasn't as effective. So Ryan Tannehill became the starter.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
He had to play wide receiver because it's like, well, Gerard Johnson, who was a great quarterback going back and looking at it.
And now about to be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be the offensive coordinator for the Texans when they fire Bobby Slowick, but that's a whole other conversation. But the idea that, like, even going back, I don't know, it's been a decade now or maybe a little bit over, but even going back and it's like one of the best quarterbacks that ever played for A&M over the past couple of decades was a wide receiver for the first part of his career.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Look, I'll go back. Look, and even so, Gerard Johnson, he became the quarterback after Stephen McGee. Mm-hmm. Stephen McGee became the quarterback after Reggie McNeil. So Stephen McGee became the quarterback after Reggie McNeil, and they tired of Reggie McNeil. And then you get I can go back almost every single one. When they won the Big 12 in 1998, it was between Brandon Stewart and Randy McCown. It kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And Brandon Stewart was the quarterback who threw the pass to Sir Parker that won the game. But Randy McCown, he was also the quarterback. It went so
Well, we don't even have to go back that far. The biggest quarterback controversy in the past couple of decades, I mean, up until now with Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers was literally the quarterback that's starting for the Cardinals right now.
Oh, Kyler Murray and Kyle Allen transferred out on the same damn day.
Yeah.
Kevin Sumlin's Kyler, you're the quarterback. He's about that, going to Oklahoma. And then he turns around and goes, Kyle, guess what? Kyler's going to Oklahoma. You're the quarterback. And he's about that.
Yeah. Houston sounds really good.
Yeah. I'm going to go where it's not crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go where it's not crazy. And then Kevin Sumlin's crap. And then he's well, maybe I should call that quarterback that Oklahoma has that's about to get supplanted by Kyler. And then Trevor Knight saved his ass. Not long term, but
in a season, yeah.
Yeah. A&M quarterback history. I need, Owen Buchanan,
one
of the writers needs to, one of the TexAgs guys needs to write a book about this, about what it's been like to be an A&M quarterback. There are, and Bucky Richardson will have, he could have a statue built of him there. They love him. Except when he first started, it was him and Lance Pavlis, and a lot of people were Pavlis is a little bit of a better thrower. Let's get Pavlis. But Bucky was ultimately he's Mr. A&M. They love him there. I don't know. I'm sure Gary Kubiak, who's one of their greatest ones, had some controversy about him.
Yeah. Is it just something about the school? Because this also has happened. This also has happened at my alma mater, but is it just something about the school, or is it something about the coaches that it has where it's weird going, no quarterback is ever safe? Because this happens a lot in college football.
I would tell you that the places that it happens at less are only chasing themselves, right? It's not that it's not happened at Alabama, or that it's not happened at Georgia, or that's not happened.
It happened at Alabama in a national championship.
Yeah,
season.
It comes up. It's unavoidable for everybody. It is. But the ones who constantly have quarterback controversies are the ones who are modeling their program after chasing someone else. And God bless them. I grew up in an Aggie family, but I kind of understand it now in a different way, that A&M, no matter what they tell you, is always going to be chasing Texas until they do something on their own, win a national championship, win multiple conference championships, beat Texas in these big situations many times in a row. And look, I'll tell you this. It could be, and I'm fresh off watching the 04 Red Sox documentary, which is fantastic.
The 18th documentary they've made about that thing?
And this is the best one by far.
Really?
By far. Oh my God, by a long shot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I really like the ESPN one. I think a 30 for 30 that they did on it.
This one's it's by far the one that Well, now everybody's far enough away from it, so they're like really telling you what was going on, as opposed to like broad stroke stories.
I saved it on Netflix, and I'm not even a Red Sox fan, but that whole postseason and stuff holds a weird place in my brain.
Well,
it's like right when I was coming online as a sports fan.
I'll tell you this. That was the night that the Yankee mystique died. When they lost that, the Yankees lost that mystique, especially to the Red Sox. But I think to a lot of people, I think you're seeing it right now in the World Series of the Dodgers.
Hate that.
That they're just not that scary anymore.
No, they're not the big bad empire.
They're just like, to me, they're just like anybody else. Spend money, don't spend money. Like there's the 27 titles, like that doesn't mean what it used to when teams were playing the Yankees in the World Series. And it wasn't just the Red Sox who did that. Like it was also the Diamondbacks and the Marlins, but like the Red Sox beating them before they got to the World Series and like finally taking away, like the Yankees are no longer a bully to them. Like
they're not Big Brother anymore.
So the Yankees always had this like refillable well of fear and sadness that was Boston. Like, so if the Yankees are down, don't worry. We'll take the wind right out of Boston's sails, and then we'll buoy our spirits with that. So, you lose to the Diamondbacks in 01, you beat the Red Sox. Like, you have that buoys you.
Yeah.
And then when you lose, like, when you're no longer, when you try to be a bully and you can't be anymore, then you can't do that. Now, look, they won in 2009, but it wasn't because they beat the Red Sox on the way or they bullied their way into it like they used to. They were just really good.
Yeah, so and then they played didn't they play like the I was going to say like the Rockies or something the
Red Sox beat the Rockies. But
all right, okay.
But yeah, so like you have like all these things that have happened. For A&M, I think they need that kind of moment against Texas where in a championship moment, in something that's going to affect the playoff, national championship, conference championship, in that moment that they can stare down Texas and beat them, they need that.
By the way, you're staring down the barrel of it.
Yeah,
right now.
They're staring at like the barrel of it. Like, and I don't know if they'll get it, but like that's what needs to happen because the problem with the Red Sox forever was that they were always chasing the Yankees. Well, now they're about the same. Like they're the same team. In fact, recently, since 2004, the Red Sox have won 4 World Series. The Yankees have won 1.
Yeah.
So again, Babe Ruth is not, and Mickey Mantle are not affecting this anymore. The ghosts are gone. They exercise that. But for A&M and Texas, A&M still has Ricky Williams and Earl Campbell and, James Street and Bill Bradley and like all these unbelievable Texas players in their head.
Justin Tucker.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin Tucker. That was the guy who won the last game that they played, right? So all of those things are still, like, they're still running through College Station, Texas. They're still, like, when they go play in Austin and, until they win, they're still going to be walking through the monuments, right? And going, oh, man, look at that. We better not do this.
Yeah,
but once you can slay the dragon, things will be different. And I'll tell you who's slayed the dragon, even though that dragon comes up and beats them, but they've still been consistent, is Georgia had it with Alabama. Mm-hmm. Now, does Alabama beat Georgia and they on a winning streak against them? Yeah, but Kirby Smart and Georgia's not what they were like during the Matthew Stafford era, where when you have a quarterback that good, you should totally win a title with him, right? They had other good quarterbacks that were championship caliber, maybe not superstar NFL players, but they had those times, but guess what? It was always Alabama or Florida who were like jumping up and get them. Well, now the ghosts are gone, and now it's just you and me today, and let's see who's better.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to be, but A&M does not have that with Texas.
It's always weird, and we've talked about it on this show once or twice, but how the curses or whatever you want to call them, the momentum of college football translates for millennia, even though, like, heck, the players that are on Marcell Reed, how old is like 19, 20?
Yeah.
Like, how old was he in 2009, the last time that the A&M and Texas played? And it's so weird to me, the ghosts of Christmas past, or the curses of how a team plays against this one team translates from class to class no matter what, even though I've always found it weird that even though these kids were like literally 5 years old the last time that they played each other, they don't have any recollection of that. It's not in their memory. But somehow it gets translated, and maybe it's the pressure that the fans put on them or whatever that have been fans for a long time. It's so weird how that translates every single year down to the players, even though they have no recollection of any sort of like,
yeah.
Why would that?
But you feel it with the fans, right?
I guess that's it. I guess that's it. It's the pressure, the outside pressure, putting in like we need to win this one.
But it's like, have you ever been in a game? I mean, yes, I know you as a fan. We're about to have it this week here in Waco.
Yeah,
it's Baylor and TCU. You'll be sitting in the stands watching Baylor and TCU, and maybe even a better Baylor team than this TCU team. And then that first thing goes wrong, and you're like, crap.
Here we go again.
Here it is. That's the thing they have to get over.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You have to do this. Now, Baylor and TCU aren't the same thing as A&M and Texas.
No.
But it's still, for Baylor and for the Baylor fan base, that exists because the players who have not beaten TCU know it. And then you can feel it in the stands. Mm-hmm. When you have that many people and their collective energies and the collective – like when that happens, you feel it. Like you have to. Like I remember.
That's why I still believe that momentum is a real thing. Anyway,
I can tell. Yeah. I can tell you when Baylor against Texas in the game where they ran out of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
When that happened,
2015 or
was it 2015? Yeah. When that happened, granted, had they figured out what they were going to do about 10 minutes earlier, they might have won the game. Mm-hmm. But, again, how can you begrudge human beings like, hey, let's see if this works, and then being like, I don't know if that's going to work, and then be like, well, it's all we can do.
Right.
And then having the wall taken down of like, well, it's all we can do, so we got to do it, and then it working and be like, oh, man, we should have
done it earlier.
We should have done it earlier. Like, that's how it is. But I remember I was doing sideline for that game for the national radio broadcast. And so they asked me like, what's the feeling down there on the sideline now that there's no quarterbacks? And I'm like, look, I have a very good relationship with this team, but I have decided that I'm going to park it over here like 15 yards away from where I normally would be standing right now because it is tense over there. And they started laughing. I'm like, no, it's really tense. And then I kind of looked back in the stands and you could see the fans that were just like, and then because it's Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's a very real thing. And when you cast a big shadow as Texas. Now, some of it's real and some of it is mythical, right?
Yeah.
But that's not Texas's fault, really. I mean, like, look, if part of it is real and part of it is Sasquatch, if you believe in Sasquatch and you think he's there, like, it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Until you are proven that there's no Sasquatch, you're always going to believe that he's there. And that's what happened with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and maybe by extension the Yankees and the rest of the league, because the rest of the league saw it as like, well, the Red Sox are the one team that can maybe take the wind out of their sails, and they never do. And then when they finally did, it was just like, oh, okay, we beat them in this World Series, and they're like, yeah, but they've been in 60 World Series. Like, a lot of people have done this one time. The problem is that they'll come back and win 3 in a row,
right? And
then they'll forget that the Marlins won this thing. Mm-hmm. Like, by the time the Yankees win their next 10, somebody will be like, who beat them in 2003? And they're like, the Marlins, the Florida Marlins.
And they won 60 games the next year.
Yeah, nobody knows. So when we come back,